Canucks heading out on the road. Now back from All-Star break. What do you make of things? I mean, I've been saying this now has to be a playoff team. They have to make it. Am I correct?
Well, we've been saying that since training camp, and I think the optics of what's at play here with the Canucks is the fact that I think they just need to make it from those optical perspectives. The fact that these guys have been told for weeks and months and years what the playoffs are like. I really think it's imperative that they experience it, even if it's one round, one and done. Yeah. People used to say, why do you want to get into the playoffs and get punted? What does that accomplish? I think from the Canuck perspective, it accomplishes a lot. I think it's really intriguing. They're about to go on the road. You're going out with them. Every road trip is huge, but they're playing playoff hockey. They've been playing it for weeks and months because that's how they have to play. So it's pretty intriguing right now.
I look at this road trip, and we've talked a bit about it, I think, looking at the last one they went on when they won 2 of 3. Didn't look so great in Florida. I was on that trip too. But just the idea that they can't let things drop, that they've done really well. There's lots, they've been very consistent. They've been playing above 500 hockey, but they're still in that sort of mode because of the division. They can't let things drop. And so you look at this road trip. They're in San Jose tonight, but they've got those 2 back-to-backs, Saturday in Brooklyn, Sunday in Raleigh, then they go to Boston, then they play, in one of your favorite places, Minnesota, next week. But it's just another trick. They're all tricky, but they can't let things drop. They need to keep, adding the points, putting stuff in their hamper, and keeping themselves in the solid position there.
Yeah, matinees have never been their favorite either. It's just that whole Eastern thing. You never really seem to get adjusted for it. But I think it just goes back to, when you talk to the players, especially the veteran players, about what they have to do and when they're at their best, is that, we're boring. We're black and white. We're A, B. I mean, but having said that, that's allowed them to play against good teams and be in games and hold leads. But then you get the transition of what's happened lately with the roster, Jake joining Pettersson and Miller, and suddenly you have a line that can do something off the rush. And I don't know what it is. When you watch Jake now, you see a guy who's skating freely, who's playing on instinct, who is just grabbing the puck and putting something toward the net. He's hanging on to it. He's making sauce passes.
Yeah.
I mean, Miller talked about it the other day. And it's really interesting when I talked to Jake before they went on this road trip. He said that what Miller's really meant to him. Miller said to him, "You're just like me." At night, when Miller got drafted by the Rangers, he was a snot-nosed kid who thought he knew better than the coaching staff, who didn't take direction very well. AV tried to get through to him. Torts tried to get through to him. He had to grow up. So he looked at Virtanen and said, "You know what? You're just like me," and that he's really taken him under his wing. They talk a lot. They sit a lot on. They sit on the plane together. He's a chatterbox. He won't shut up, Miller. But Jake is learning a lot.
The two of them together. I mean, I just can't even imagine what one or the other getting a word in edgewise. I mean, it's endless with those.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mutt and Jeff, But I just think it's really interesting that Miller will sit in on video sessions with him. Even when Jake's in the room by himself, he'll come over the shoulder and say, "Hey, let's try this. Let's try that. What do you think?" And that's pretty interesting to me because I know Miller's only 26, but it seems like he's been around the league forever. Why am I going to hang out with these kids? And he's really invested himself in not only having the opportunity here on an individual basis, he's kind of like an assistant coach.
What do you make of the trade deadline? 3 weeks from now, obviously, this Canuck team is just about as healthy as it can get. Obviously, Ferland is still out. I'm not sure we're going to see him back. I'm starting to wonder about that one. We haven't seen him around in a while. We did see him skate for a little bit, earlier in the month, but we haven't really seen him much at all. What do you think? Is there a spot there? I mean, the Canucks have a little, actually amazingly at this point, do have a little bit of cap room because of that. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, a little bit of room. I think they like what they have. I mean, obviously they like to be totally healthy. I think I'll go back to Torts. I wonder a little bit about bite, a little bit about stiffness. Andrew Roussel's giving you everything he has coming off knee surgery. I think he's kind of tailed off. And you saw when San Jose was here last Saturday and going into the game in San Jose, those games are going to be edgy because the Sharks are basically out of it. I just think there's that element going forward, especially in the playoffs, that you just want to have that guy, even if he's your extra forward. Can you rent a guy who has that DNA, who's not going to cost you much, maybe a late-round pick, just to have that? Because unlike any other sport, the NHL changes dramatically. In the postseason, it's rough, it's tough, they let a lot go. I think that element might be lacking.
And it's also just a statement about how much you need to have depth in your lineup, isn't it, too? You just see what's happening on that third, fourth line. So
yeah, it is. I mean, they're well positioned. I mean, they're getting the goaltending. They're good down the middle. Their special teams are decent. They have a lot of elements in place. Their DNA says we have to play a certain way. A lot of teams are looking for a playoff game kind of style game right now, trying to flip that switch. They've been doing it all year, and that's why they're in the mix.
All right, folks, we'll be back, of course, as ever. We've got a podcast coming up as well. Thanks for watching.